What a freaking nightmare. I had a crazy adventure yesterday picking up this 1980 K30 4x4 dually. Man, did it hit the fan yesterday. I was completely unprepared and I thought, I'm just gonna tell you guys the story because it was a good one. So about a week ago, I got an email from a guy who said, hey, are you interested in an old truck? And I said, yeah, I'm always interested in old trucks. He sent me an email with pictures. I saw what it was and I'm like, I'm on my way, let's do this. So set it up for yesterday. I load up the trailer, get the burb hooked up, and I roll out about 2 hours from here up in the high desert to pick this thing up at a storage yard. Everything was going smoothly, truck was running good, nice cool weather. I'm like, this is gold. I'm gonna be back in time to get the kids from school. Everything's going great. Roll up there, it took me like an hour 45 to get there. I get there around noon. I'm like, okay, I got an hour to load this thing and an hour to get back. And no problems, this is gonna be a walk in the park. Back the trailer up. First of all, this thing was right near the entrance, so we didn't have to drive all the way through the dusty dirt roads to this storage yard. Just backed the truck right up, dropped the gate, hooked up the winch, yanked this thing up, strapped it down, ready to roll, or at least I thought. That's when I noticed there was a puddle under my truck, and I thought, that's odd, maybe that's from someone who was here before. I didn't think much of it, to be honest, because the truck was just running good. So I pull up this little hill to turn around, and my brakes are very spongy. And at first I'm like, okay, they're spongy just because, there's no pressure in the system because the engine's idling. And then the steering wouldn't work either. And I'm like, okay, something's going on. So stop the truck. I'm in the middle of this wide open, like gravel covered acreage with just semi-trucks and buses and all this storage stuff around me. It's like 102 degrees, it's noon, and my high pressure line on the Suburban had a little tiny pinhole leak in it, and it was just geyser of all the fluid. So I'd already lost probably what I would estimate at about a quart, and at the rate that it was going with the engine running, there was no way I was getting off that hill without fixing it.
Well, because this is totally screwed right now. I ran out to Palmdale, Lancaster area to pick up a 1-ton, and got here, got up on the trailer incredibly quickly, all tied down, everything went smooth. And then I had no brakes or steering. Pedal went to the floor. Found out that the line, low pressure side, had split and was hemorrhaging all my fluid. I don't have enough to fill it back up. And I don't have any more lines to replace it with. I don't have any water. And it's like 102 degrees. And luckily the guy I bought it from headed back into town to see if he can find some stuff. But I'm kind of at the whim of Mother Nature right now. My tongue's getting fat. I'm really thirsty. This really sucks.
Because unfortunately, I've got hydro boost and I've got hydraulic assist steering, both of which require the high pressure power steering pump to supply high pressure fluid to. So no brakes, no steering, no go. I started looking at this thing and thinking, okay, this has a hydro boost system on it. Maybe I can rob some of the lines off it. And I started to feel really good about myself. Like, man, I'm so good. I'm gonna take a bunch of lines off this old truck that I bought. I'm gonna throw on my truck and boom, I'll be good. I didn't have any fluid, but I hadn't started to think that far ahead yet. So start pulling the lines off and they're not working. They don't fit. So fortunately, the guy that I bought the truck from was like, I can't leave a guy behind. You're obviously in trouble. Let's get this sorted. So he ran into town and grabbed a couple quarts of fluid from the closest gas station, which was all that we had. It was like 10 miles away. So he goes, grabs that, brings it back. And at that point, I had realized that none of my lines were gonna work. So we had fluid. solved that problem, but I still had a hydraulic line that was just hemorrhaging fluid. At this point, I was pretty convinced that it was the low pressure side, because I thought that's what I had seen spraying the fluid. So I was focused on the low pressure side. I knew I needed some more tools and more parts at that point, so he headed back into town to try and find a local part shop and come back with some fittings and some hoses. And I gave him one of the AN fittings off the line. I said, see if you can match this. He came back about, it was probably 45 minutes later, and he had hose, he had fittings, we had a way to fix it. Solid, at least I thought I was. So put the line that he brought back, just some hose and hose clamps, and we stuffed the barb from the AN fitting, the female AN fitting, into the barb of the hose clamped it down, hooked it all up to the brake booster and the PSC overflow, and yeah, it still sprayed fluid because the leak was coming from the high pressure side, which once I removed myself from the fog of the situation, I realized of course it was, because that's where the high pressure was. It wasn't going to be leaking that much from the low pressure side. So it was at this point that I was really kind of down and defeated. I was feeling terrible because I don't like other people having to rescue me from situations. And I was in a situation where I didn't have the parts or the fluid, and that's new for me. I pretty much never go anywhere without the tools to fix what I need to fix and the parts to fix it. And I just got cocky. I thought I'm just gonna run out, run back, no problems. So what I forgot to mention too was it's 95, 100 degrees out there, the wind's blowing, and I am slowly shriveling up. I had no water, had no food, I hadn't eaten breakfast. I was hurting. This dude, Gary, had gone back into town. When he came back, he brought me some waters, and that was a massive lifesaver. Like, I was literally like, forget the truck. I need to drink some water before I continue because I'm starting to get dizzy and my tongue's getting fat. Anyway, so after all this trouble and realizing that we were not going to be able to fix the high pressure line, loaded up his truck for the third time. Once again, dude, Gary, thank you. Thank you, seriously. You are the man. Took the high pressure line off, drive down out of the high country to where we found a Napa Auto Parts. And Napa, for those of you guys who don't know, a lot of those places will build high pressure lines for you, whether it's AC, brake, steering. So I went in, I said, I need these fittings. I said, here's what's leaking, replicate this for me. And they built me a brand new high pressure power steering line. Drive back up to the truck, load it up, fill up the swap the line in, replace the fluid, start it up. No leaking, we're good. And then I had the 2-hour drive home, which was nerve-wracking because, you know, brakes. I wanted to make sure that I could stop, and what an adventure. So long story short, make sure you have all the tools with you. Make sure you have all the stuff that you need every time. This was a major failure on my part. I was hoping to bring a cool video to you guys picking up this truck, and instead I just have a quick snippet, well, I'll show you in a bit, of me struggling when I couldn't find any water. But I am stoked on this pickup. I'm going to show you here in a second. It is a 1980 K30 1-ton, so 1-ton frame. I got a Dana 70 dually. I got a Dana 60 dually up front. Frame is perfectly straight. Cab is straight. It's got the hydro boost. This is a gem. If you guys are looking to build a truck, this is a fantastic platform to start with. You're gonna get a super burly frame, super burly drivetrain, and everything on here that's missing can be bought and replaced. The parts that can't be bought and replaced are gonna be the axles and the cab and the frame. Those are, you know, in limited supply now. The rest of it is just window dressing. But this does add to my collection. I mean, from here, I can see about 6 or 7 other Burbs, Blazers, trucks, and Squarebody. So yeah, remember to bring your junk, or things can go sideways quickly for you. And I was at the mercy of the dude I bought this truck from, and I am super stoked that he was a good dude and didn't just bounce, as he had every right to do once I'd paid him. And yeah, could have been a whole different situation yesterday. But let's take a look at this thing. It's rad, and I'll show you what else I have in the lot and what we got coming up. Right, so for those of you who aren't familiar, this is a Dana 70. Most of us are familiar with the 14 bolts, but this is the Dana company's dual 1-ton rear, and it's huge. I mean, look at those axle tubes. They are so massive. This is a bitchin' axle. They are incredibly heavy, and they're kind of hard to find some parts for, but they're bomber. And the frame, you'll notice here, the frame is a lot thicker than a Blazer frame. I'll have to measure it, but this frame, it being a 1-ton frame, is going to be quite a bit stronger than your traditional half-ton. Cab's in good shape, no rust. It's about the only damage that I was able to see. Door sills all look good, floor looks good, everything looks good. The roof looks clean and straight. Yeah, I am stoked on this cab. And then I've got the Hydro Boost, missing obviously all the fittings because I thought that I could rob the fittings off of this. And then the venerable Dana 60. Now this is a dually Dana 60, meaning that you have much larger spindles and hubs in there. You can see that hub right there, how it bolts to the flange and it sticks out. That's a Dana 60 dually front hub. So you do need to swap those out if you're not going to be running a dually in the back. Not that big of a deal, parts are available. And yeah, it's even got the AC condenser. I wonder if that still works. And it looks to have a new wiper motor too. But one of my favorite parts, look at those old school marker lights. So sweet. Let's go down here and I'll show you guys what ruptured on the truck. It's a mess under here. I gotta warn you guys right now, because obviously I was hacking and hammering on lines all day. So this is the one that we jerry-rigged together. You can see that it's hose clamped on, and then this is the line they built, which is fantastic. This is a really good line. And my fluid level, it only lost about a quart overall. Let's see where I'm at, and we'll know how much fluid. If I'm leaking at all, I don't think I am. Nope, perfect. Looking good there. Yeah. You know, it was an adventure yesterday, but we did get things resolved. And I just need to do some cleanup. Well, actually, the oil just seems to have made everything look nice. This is my old fan switch that's still hooked up, but is no longer functioning. That needs to come out. But yeah, once again, the burb did kill her. I love this truck. I'm loving that it's becoming a really good work truck for me. So let's take a look at what else I've got here. You guys are familiar with the Cuck V. This is all complete apart from drive shafts, transmission, and transfer case. But my buddy Duke was able to find a Turbo 400 and 203 combo that will bolt right into the back and get this thing up and running. I'm stoked on this guy. I can't wait to get it running. And I've got over here, this is a 77 that I'm going to be doing a full restoration on. This is a buddy of mine. He dropped it off. He'd started to do some work on it. He's had it since high school, and it's well built, but only parts of it. So this is going to be getting a whole new dash, and everything's getting done in here, in addition to links and Magnum. But it has a big block in here. Let's see if I can get this hood open. Yeah, this hood is one of those aftermarket junkers that just bends, but trust me, it's got a big block in there. The links are going to be the off-road design link kits. You can see he's already started to put in some of them over there, but we're going to fix all that. I got a lot of work to do on this frame to get it clean and looking appropriate. I want to show you guys this project I got coming up because it is the next one in line. And it's this 77 Blazer that we're going to be doing a whole lot of work on. More to come later, so you guys really know what to expect with it.
But in the meantime, this thing is going to be called Lieutenant Dan, because when I picked it up from my buddy's house, it had no rear axle in it. And it took us, man, like an hour to get it up on the trailer, and then like 2 hours to get it off the trailer down here, and then like another 2 hours to get it into the shop. And then it fell off the forklift, and Lieutenant Dan has been a handful. But it's going to be a killer build. Look for a lot more information and updates on this. But big block with links, magnum box, all the works. It's going to be rad. This was brought to me by a friend of mine, and he spent some good money getting this thing restored, and it just needs some TLC. It's not all it should be for how much he spent on it. So we're gonna give this thing the once over and make some recommendations on what we think he should do for this guy. So here is the 73 that I picked up. First gen Squarebody. This was the first, well, not first gen, I guess this would be the second gen, but this is a 73. This is the first year that they looked like Squarebodies. They weren't as rounded. I've got the paperwork on it. It's going to be pre-smog. This is going to be an awesome build. This guy right here, 1990, fully optioned Suburban. It's pretty rough. I don't hold out too much hope for getting restored, as much as it's probably going to donate a lot of its parts to the cause. It's got the 241 in it. It's going to have a 700, or actually it's probably got a 4L65 because it's 1990. And this has a small block. It's got rear AC. It's got all the parts and fittings still. It's just like I was saying, it's pretty thrashed inside. But parts trucks are always good to have. I've been collecting parts right now. I've been in a big collective spree, just because, you know, you can't build these trucks if you don't have all the parts you need, and a lot of these parts are becoming harder and harder to find, so I'm just buying them when I find them, including Dana 60s. So 3 Dana 60s right here, all single wheel, and then Dana 70 single wheel. That is out of the black truck out front. So if this was your parking lot, what would you be doing with these rigs? Let me know in the comments down below. I've got that 80 dually, I've got that 73 Blazer, I've got the 90 Suburban, I've got the Cuck V, I've also got this 86 behind me. Lots of projects coming up. What would you do? How would you build these things? Diesel, gas, bring them back to stock, full rock crawler build, hybrid electric. There are so many options with these things, and I'm pretty excited to have the opportunity that I have to build all this killer stuff. If you are into building killer stuff or watching dudes attempt to build killer stuff, you're in the right place, because that's what I do every week. Go ahead and give me a subscribe, a like, drop me a comment down below if you have some ideas of what you think I should be doing with these builds. And make sure to check out some of these other videos I'm going to put up here that detail taking these trucks on